Hi. I am always exploring different practices that I can use to help me heal or overcome things, and I'm always sort of adding from what I read or from what I try, and it works or it doesn't work. And this is sort of what a couple of practices that I've been using lately, and wanted to share them if they're helpful for anyone else. The first thing I want to talk about, and the first practice I want to talk about, is our dreams and how we can use our dreams to heal, and also just sort of as a guide of what we need to overcome. And the reason why dreams are so helpful is because they are connected to our subconscious mind, where we hold a lot of memories, we hold a lot of emotion, and like past experiences that might not make sense to the logical mind. So when we're awake, we're more in our intellect, or more in our conscious mind, where we are trying to intellectualize and make everything logical for the most part. And why that's difficult or not as helpful for us is because we can try to talk ourselves out of feeling something, or tell ourselves, oh, that was so long ago, like I can't still feel something about that, or like, oh, I didn't care about that. And we sort of talk ourselves out of healing or feeling a certain way about how we felt, but our subconscious is connected more to how we feel, and it's not going to always make sense logically. So getting access to our dreams is helpful, because it can tell us what we are feeling or what we felt about something in the past that we are sort of blocking out in our conscious, or our intellect, our awake mind. So if you can't remember your dreams, the first step is trying to get to a place where you can remember your dreams, because you need to have access to them to be able to do the practice that I'm talking about. So how to remember your dreams it's kind of similar to like if you've ever started to meditate and you're like, oh, my mind is going crazy, this is not working. If you stick with it, you will, maybe it's after a week, maybe it's after a month, maybe it's after a couple of months, but the more you stick with it, the more you'll start seeing the benefits of it. So it's the same with this practice, and the practice is simple. It's just once you wake up, and you've had enough sleep, like you don't want to go fall back to sleep, but you want to stay in a place that's sort of in between sleep and wakefulness, where you have access to your dreams. And all you do is prop yourself up a little bit, like maybe it's just another pillow, maybe you're sitting up, maybe you're sitting like I am, but just up enough so that you're comfortable, but you're not like awake in your eye, like have your eyes closed. So when you wake up, try not to do anything, try not to look at your phone, try not to do anything, just wake up and then put yourself in a comfortable position where you're kind of trying to remember and watching your dreams, or having access to your dreams like they're a movie. And if you aren't remembering them like I'm saying, and like you're trying this but like nothing's coming to you, just try to stick with it. Try 5 minutes every morning, then go to 10 minutes. Try to do it every single day, and eventually you will start having access to these dreams. It might feel frustrating at the beginning if you can't remember, or like if they're super random and you only remember pieces, which happens to me sometimes, but try to stick with it. So that's the first step, is getting access and remembering what is happening in your dreams, so that you can do what I'm about to say. So that's the first step. The next step is try to remember that your subconscious mind and your dreams work more in, it's more of like your creative imagination, images, memories, mind, where it's more symbolic. So your dreams are not like the logical mind, where it's exactly that person doing exactly that thing, that exact situation that happened in the past. But in your dream, it could be someone you don't even recognize. It could be a situation or a house or a place that you've never been or don't recognize. But it's not about those specific things. Try to see, what does that person symbolize? Who does that person remind me of? Or what does that place remind me of? What is the feeling that I have? What is the feeling that I had in that dream? Maybe I just felt really guilty, and like try to focus on what the feeling was that either that person, that situation, that experience like provoked in you, and what does that remind you of? So for example, like today when I woke up, I was paying attention to my dreams, and I was like, I have no idea, like I don't know who that person is. I don't know, like why would I be mad at them? Like I'm trying to intellectualize it. So this is sort of a paradox, because you don't always need to intellectualize your emotions or your past experiences, even though I try to do that a lot because I want to understand. But all that I did this morning was, after remembering that, I just sort of sat with it, and I'm like, okay. And then the more that you remember, like you'll remember one part, and then the more you stay with it, like something else you'll remember, and something else you'll remember. It's sort of like if you try to remember. I was talking to my mom yesterday, and I was like, do you remember when we went to Amsterdam? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I can't remember like this one part of the trip. Like I don't remember taking the flight. And she's like, me neither. And then I sort of like went in my memory, and I was like remembering, oh yeah, and then we went here, and then we did this, and like what was the Airbnb like? And the more you sort of like go into it, the more you'll remember, because you're accessing that part where the memory is stored. And it's similar with dreams. Like the more you sit with it, and the more you're like, oh yeah, and then I went here, and then what happened after that? Like you're not actually talking out loud or anything, but you're like, you're going through like this experience through your memory, through your subconscious, and the more that you stick with it, the more you'll remember. So after I was remembering the dream, and it wasn't really fully making sense, I was trying to use this strategy, which is symbolism, and thinking, okay, like I remember being angry, and I was angry about that, but what was I really like? It wasn't about that situation. Like when can I remember feeling like that? And memories started coming back of and this isn't going to happen all the time. Like this was sort of a revelation after practicing this so many times. Like this doesn't happen every single time I try to remember my dreams. Like sometimes I'll just remember, it'll be like a sea lion was here, and then I was here, and then I was in this weird house, and I'm like, what does it mean? And like nothing happens, but I just stick with the practice every single day. And then I have days like this, where today I was like going through it. I was trying to feel what I was feeling in the dream, feeling the fear, the anxiety, or because it was an uncomfortable dream. It was not a great experience. And also stick with it. Another reason to stick with it is because after an uncomfortable dream, you're like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to think about that. Like I'm just gonna forget that and go on throughout my day, which I do sometimes if it's a really weird or uncomfortable dream. But I know that the more that I stick with it and I feel it, then it's gonna help me. So that's what I tried to do this morning. And as I was feeling it, after sitting there for about like 10 or 15 minutes, this memory came back, and it's not always super clear. It'll be like this person's face sort of like pops up, and then like I'll start going into that. Like just sort of let your subconscious mind take over. Like try not to think like too much intellectually. Just try to let whatever's coming up come up. So I just let that memory sort of come up, and I started to see how my dream was connected to a situation and a memory and an experience that happened to me. I saw how they were connected, and the connection was so, it was so symbolic. Like, it wasn't that man or that person was not exactly how the person was in the dream, and it was all sort of mixed together, but I saw how that feeling that I felt was related to this memory that I remembered. I really hope this is making sense, because it's just, once I experienced it this morning, I'm like, it's so amazing, the experience, and I just hope that it makes sense to other people. But I'm not finished. So after I started remembering this experience that happened a couple years ago, I was feeling myself like scared, feeling myself kind of shame, feeling different things about myself in the moment. And so this goes with this practice, but can be used in other ways as well. I go in, something that is helpful for me, and this goes along with dealing with emotions, which I talked about in our last video, is anytime that I'm feeling something or something is coming up, I use sort of a self-soothing or a self-healing method that I use is I take my hands and I put them on the opposite sides of me, wherever that is. Like, it could be around my stomach if that feels good, or like if that makes me feel safe. It could be like giving myself a hug. It could be, this is what I usually do. I take it and I put them around the back of my neck and like around my face. And I hold, falls asleep. And I hold just really strong and like with a lot of care, and I sort of like lay down in a ball and just sort of like tell myself like, I'm safe, it's okay. And it helps my body feel like I'm here, it's okay, I'm safe, like it's okay to let it come out, instead of, judgment or shame, or it's like, no, it's okay, and like I'm here with you. So I really recommend that. I saw it somewhere where someone said like something about the opposite sides, it almost makes you feel like someone else is touching you, but it feels really calming and really relaxing, and it feels really like safe. So that's what I used after these memories are coming up. I was just like sitting with it and going like this, and I used this part of things to rewrite the experience. So if in that moment I felt really alone, I felt really scared, I felt really anxious, I felt shame, I felt any sort of negative emotion, I either go and find her in my memory, like I remember how she felt, where she was, and I go and I take her and I'm like, it's okay, and like I give her the person that she needed at that moment. And this goes into my next practice that I want to talk about, but I might just make this part one of this video because I feel like it's long and I want to see if people I want to see if it makes sense what I said first. So dreams, trying to access our dreams from the first 5 or 10 minutes, if you can get up to 20, however long it takes for you to at least remember some of it. Maybe you can write it down, maybe you can draw it out, maybe that's helpful. Whatever helps you get into that subconscious mind, and connect certain dots. Also, if there's something that reoccurs, just try to study yourself a little bit. Like, do you have a reoccurring dream where, like, I used to always have this dream that someone was like coming for me, and it would be in different ways, in different places, but that would be a common theme, is like I needed to lock all the doors because someone was coming. Sorry if that's too much information, but once I realized that I was having that, then I could go into that more. So try to understand like your patterns, what reoccurs, what is the feeling that you commonly have in your dreams, like Are you angry a lot of the time? Do you have a lot of sex dreams? Do you have like a lot of dreams where you're in fear? Do you have a lot of joyful dreams? Like, that's pretty rare for me, unfortunately. Like, every once in a while I'm like, damn, I was frolicking in a field with some horses or whatever, but that's rare. But yeah, like, try to see your patterns, try to see what reoccurs, and just try to study yourself a little bit. Try to see what your dream is trying to tell you. Just try to have a relationship with your subconscious and your dreams, and realize that they're there to help you and to guide you, and try to benefit from that. It can be a really powerful experience. So, highly recommend accessing your dreams, and highly recommend anytime you need to feel, anytime you're feeling something, or anytime you are going through something, you just need to feel a little bit of safety or calm. It's amazing.